Really agree with you, but I want to understand more about the dynamics within Canada as well. And Mr. Dean Baxendale, I think you can help me with that. Now, Jagmeet Singh had put out this tweet: to all Canadians, this is my vow. I will leave no stone unturned in the pursuit of justice, including holding Narendra Modi accountable. Now, you had a lot of comments also which came against the Hindu community as well in Canada, where a lot of Khalistani extremists were saying that the Hindus should leave Canada. And the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, he said, every Canadian deserves to live without fear and feel welcomed in their community. In recent days, we have seen hateful comments targeting Hindus in Canada. Conservatives condemn these comments against our Hindu neighbors and friends. Hindus have made invaluable contributions to every part of our country and will always be welcome here. So when it comes to this entire politicking surrounding the Khalistani movement, where do the Conservatives stand? Do you sense that even like Jagmeet Singh could find a friend with the Conservatives as well, like he has with Justin Trudeau?
Is this for me or for?
Yeah, Mr. Baxendale, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what? Could you just repeat the last part? Because Jagmeet Singh find.
Right, Jagmeet Singh has made his stand clear. He wants to make Narendra Modi pay for what happened to Hardeep Nijjar. Now, the Conservatives, of course, the Conservatives are on an upward trajectory because of the poor, political showing that Justin Trudeau is going through. He's having a really rough time when it comes to the opinion polls. But could the Conservatives and the NDP also, become friends? Could there be some political alliance between them? Because when it comes to the Khalistani movement, there is great political mobilization on the ground, be it British Columbia, be it Ontario. Could you find an understanding between the Conservatives and the NDP, which just goes to show that the Khalistani movement is well entrenched in Canadian politics, be it the Liberals or the Conservatives?
Yeah, so diaspora politics in Canada is a very complex issue. It's something I've written about in this morning's Sunday Guardian. I wrote about what political calculus is here, who is the real winner out of this, and it's certainly not India or Canadian relationships. As far as we have political parties for 40 years have used the diaspora communities for their own ends, and ultimately, when expedient, they have allowed interference operations by the Chinese Communist Party, other nations, the linkages between organized crime and obviously, a gang war that's been taking place in Surrey for a long, long time, led to many, many murders in Canada within the Sikh community and Hindu community. Do I think alliances are possible? Yes, I do, but I think that fundamentally there's not a chance that the Conservatives will align themselves with Jagmeet Singh. I think they will certainly attempt to align themselves with the Sikh community, which they have done. Mm-hmm. Let's understand. It's a very, very small group of people that support the Khalistani separatist movement here in Canada. So let's not paint all of Canada as being part of Pakistan or supporting Pakistan. We do not. We support freedom and democracy, but there are limits to that freedom and democracy, and it takes it's a responsibility of both the government and its citizens not to use hate speech against the Hindu population, to have floats and parades that celebrate the assassination of Indira Gandhi. This is just not on, and Canadian governments need to stand up and start to show, not because they want votes, but because they need to do what's right for freedom and democracy and protecting that nation and protecting religious freedoms, something to which I was in Delhi and then in Dharamsala in May to meet with His Holiness, because it's important that we understand that all people around the world have a right to their
Absolutely. But Dean, you also see that difference where in Montreal, a neo-Nazi gets convicted for hate speech, 15 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and over here you have Khalistani radicals, espousing all the hate against Hindus as well as India, and no action is taken against them. And the defense given by none other than the Prime Minister is freedom of speech. Mr. Shashank, I want to get your take on this, that, of course, there are double standards. It's politics at the end of the day. Each political party will pander to its base, but the diplomatic core is, of course, divorced from politics. It has a larger agenda at play. Do you think that those backroom, dialogues are underway between Canada and India between the diplomats to try to bring some sort of normalcy back to the ties beyond the political rhetoric?
I think I agree with Mr. Baxendale, the Canadian columnist, because he understands Canadian composition of the Indian diaspora very well. But what happens is that the political leadership in Canada, whatever complexion, and the intelligence agencies of Canada find it much easier to deal with a smaller group of people who can be allowed to take control of the gurudwaras and the religious places, and then they can manipulate them with reference to the local communities living there in large numbers. And this problem becomes greater and greater as there are larger number of Indian people going there. So therefore, much better to have a small group of people who are their intelligence assets and to control the whole population that way. And then in addition, if you can make peace with Pakistan and make sure that, Pakistan gives you some information about the weak points of India, then you can keep India also under control in some ways. And they have been doing this for the last 40, 50 years.
Right.
Unfortunately, India suddenly felt that they were the kind of flavor of the time, and China was out of their favor. So therefore, India thought that now perhaps the things would change. But apparently, the political and intelligence compulsions which are there in Canada and maybe in their Five Eyes alliances, that has not worked in India's favor. They perhaps feel that China had become too big for its boot, so they have to control China, but they don't want India to go the same way. So they have to continue giving pinpricks to India so that India does not think the same way as China has started thinking about it.
And people over here would not expect something like that from the Canadians themselves. Mr. Mann, I'll give you the final word. Where do you see this entire diplomatic crisis going forward in the weeks to come?
Well, I see, to be honest, India is one up at the moment over Canada. Diplomacy is based on mutual reciprocity. And India has banned, the visa services for Canadians till further notice. And the Canadians haven't been able to respond in an equal manner in the same calibration because they have their compulsions. They got 40% of their foreign student influx from India. So India is a market for Canada, and they need to realize and wake up and smell their coffee. It's not the same India they used to, arm twist and blackmail 50 years back. It's the new India. It's the new Bharat. And when you deal with India, it's a strong country. India has arrived, and the world is standing in innovation. And the world is now realizing the strength of India, the Indian diplomacy, the Indian prowess.
Absolutely.
So I feel that
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you that it's India's iron fist approach that has actually caught the Canadians off guard. But that's all the time I have. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, for this very enlightening debate when it